Good afternoon and welcome to the Travel Perspective sessions at World Travel Market in association with our long-term partners Siren Communications. Other travel PR agencies are available, of course, but few have embraced the new world of digital and social media as well as Siren. Now, a week is a long time in politics, it is said, and that's been very evident in the week of the US presidential election. And it's equally a long time in social media. Reputations can be gained and lost in a split second, while new platforms are rolled out with dizzying rapidity, while others are mothballed. I mean, take the streaming video service Vine, for example. It was only launched in 2012, but and it was the next big thing then, but already it's being mothballed. How can the travel industry keep up with that? Now, at the heart of that dizzying whirlwind is Facebook. And there are always plenty of numbers bandied about when mentioning that company. It's $7 billion revenues last quarter, up 59% on last year. It's 1.79 billion monthly active users, 16% up on 2015. And it's 1.66 billion mobile users, up 20% on last year. But one of my favorite figures is 60, and that's the number of acquisitions the company has made in those last 12 years. That's quite incredible, really, isn't it? 5 a year. You know, you always hear about mergers and acquisitions and how some of them fail, and most of them fail, and some of them last. But you just look at the range of things that Facebook has bought over that time. Just in the last 3 years, it's bought companies that are startups in augmented and virtual reality, speech recognition, artificial intelligence, fitness tracking firms, and that's all a huge world away from the world of pokes and university socializing where it all started 12 years ago. So what is the travel industry to make of all this? And how can travel companies use Facebook to tell their unique stories and get customers and users to buy more holidays? Now, I'm very pleased to welcome Nessa Costin, who's Facebook's EMEA travel vertical lead in their global marketing solutions team, back to WTM. We were just saying in the green room before coming in here that Nessa was actually probably the first person from Facebook who came and spoke at WTM 4 years ago now. And it's incredible that those changes since you were first here. So Nessa, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Mark. Can you hear okay? Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, 4 years and a lot has changed. So yeah, it's an exciting new world we're working in. So loads of opportunities. It's just a case of what do you want to know?
Well, the one thing I was talking about with Lee, who was your predecessor at this event last year and the last couple of years, is about the change in Facebook from a world of sort of likes, comments, and shares, which it still is to some extent, but more to being a sort of an advertising platform. I mean, is that what you see from inside?
Absolutely, 100%. I suppose Facebook started off as we were the original social network, but as our business evolved and we more and more advertising dollars were being spent on Facebook, there was a pushback from the media and advertising industry in terms of how do you measure a like, a comment and share versus, say, a TV ad or a press ad, or how is it comparable? So as the platform evolved and became our advertising product became more sophisticated, we kind of moved away from the likes, comments and shares, the social element of the Facebook platform, and moved more towards our conversations now with clients are very much around what is your business objectives, what are you trying to achieve, because a like, a comment or a share won't actually sell another holiday for you or build a brand for you. So we're trying to pivot conversations back to what's relevant to you and your business and what's going to drive business for you. The social graph, the likes, comments and shares and all that I suppose infrastructure that's built up is only going to enhance the halo effect of anything that you're doing on Facebook. If your friends, will get distribution with your friends, your colleagues, your people who you follow on Facebook. So it's not to say that it's null and void or redundant. It's just that the conversations are now moved towards what are your business objectives, what's your advertising, what are you trying to achieve from your advertising. So we've moved out of the social bucket into very much we are a media platform. Like you mentioned the numbers, 1.7 billion people on the platform. that's just people. You know, it's not a social network. It's just people on a platform, and they're consuming media. So, you know, you should be embracing that amount of people and that platform in a way that you would a TV or press or outdoor. Yeah.
And well, obviously it seems to be working. I mean, $7 billion revenue in a quarter, that's unbelievable. So, I mean, do you find that travel companies are willing to put money behind this? I mean, or is it just some travel companies?
Yeah, 100%. I suppose our first wave of growth with travel companies was very much around the digital natives, the tech-savvy companies that wanted to understand, you know, they were digital first anyway. And then I suppose the next way, and they now have moved to mobile first. So 2012, when I first started talking to travel companies, yeah, it was very, very much a desktop business. Now the move to mobile, there's a lot of catching up to be done, and Facebook is very much at the forefront of that mobile transition. So we can offer cross-device behaviour, which is key in the travel vertical, because the travel path to purchase is very much it's a long and fragmented path to purchase. You know, if you think about e-commerce, for instance, if you like an item of clothing and you have money on your credit card, you can purchase it within a few moments. Whereas with travel, you generally have to consider who you're traveling with. You generally don't travel alone. You usually have to check dates, holidays from work. You know, there's a lot of consideration. And then there's the usual, everyone's probably done this behavior, checked a price, checked it on a few different sites, then maybe checked a likes of a TripAdvisor to see, you know, to rate a hotel. So there's a lot of consideration and research put into the travel, into a travel decision. So the path to purchase is, as I say, long and extended. And a lot of that research is happening on mobile, which is not being captured by travel marketeers currently because they're measuring on cookie base and last click. So, yes, we're helping. There's a lot of interesting conversations happening with travel marketeers at the moment. The tourist boards were also another key client, key area where it was brand awareness, and that moved towards. It's very much, Facebook is very much a visual platform, and it's also it's a place where people find inspiration in terms of where to travel to next via their social graph or their social network. So so tourist boards have found it a very, very useful platform for their marketing efforts.
Now, you see an airline like KLM, which has always been at the forefront of social media, doing experiments with their booking bot or customer service bot within Facebook Messenger. Yeah. Do you see a future where that's going to happen more and more, where the actual booking is going to take place within Facebook or rather than on the site itself?
I suppose the thing about Facebook is that we have a lot of people on our platform, so we can understand user behavior quicker. We can probably spot trends in terms of user behavior quicker than other companies. So, for instance, 2 years ago, I couldn't convince any travel clients within my portfolio to put video on Facebook, and now that seems like such an obvious thing. You know, every marketeer is doing it. It's video first is a lot of marketing strategies into 2017. So I suppose we can spot trends quickly, and we can move, or we can advise clients on those. What happens with the likes of Messenger, what we've discovered is people are using Messenger. You know, they're using Messenger to message people, but also the need from a business point of view. So instead of businesses trying to divert people to their platforms, or, you know, to their customer service or to their websites or to their, it's meet people where they are. So that was the advice. I suppose we saw the user behavior that people want simplicity. They want to use one or two app, or, you know, they want single use apps on their phone, and they don't want to have to download numerous apps for every brand that they use. So it made sense then, the Messenger app, in terms of a customer service or a booking engine in time is available. And KLM, I suppose, we're an obvious partner, a beta partner for us, because of the fact that they have been heavily invested in Facebook for years in terms of, we've had a very strong partnership with them, but they very much were about the customer at the centre of their marketing strategy. So they're happy to help they're happy to help kind of marketing strategy. The Messenger seemed to fit very nicely with that. So that's how they became a partner with that.
And how realistic is it going to be for other travel companies to get in that? I mean, KLM are a huge company, but you know, for a small hotel or a small hotel group, how are they going to access that?
The Messenger app is there for any avatar, any company to take full advantage of. It's on the developer site. If you look at the Facebook developer site, all the data you need to create a bot or to create a plugin for Messenger is available. So any company can do it. The thing is, I suppose, it's creating points of contact on you. So if it's on your website, to let people know that you're available to Messenger. And then the other thing is, I suppose, to be realistic about it. How, if you get inundated with messages from, can you answer those in a timely fashion? So it's just a case of, I suppose, figuring out what's right for the business. But there's lots of companies. Skyscanner have great messenger bot. There's a lot of travel companies and e-commerce companies have jumped on that and created. So yes, KLM were the launch partner, but it's now available. It's available for anyone who wants to use it.
I guess this is why you're sort of investing in artificial intelligence, speech recognition, all these things to make that experience that much better for users of that.
The automation. I suppose that you talked about the acquisition. Yeah, the Facebook. What seems to happen is, a lot of companies are acquired, and they're again trying to understand the user behaviour as to what is it that's going to be of interest. What's the next generation or the next frontier of communication? And that's a lot of the work that I suppose goes on in the background. It's unknowns to us. We get told when the world gets told about the next wave of whether it be virtual reality, augmented reality, or artificial intelligence. But I suppose they have probably identified that that's the way the world is moving, and to be involved in and researching that and how people communicate. So I suppose Facebook's mantra is about open and connected communication, and they'll always be investing in the future of communication. So
one of those acquisitions was Oculus Rift. Made loads of headlines recently, and everyone's talking about this year being the year for VR. I think they were last year as well. But I mean, have you been talking to any travel companies about how you might use that in practice with them?
Again, Oculus is kind of behind closed doors at the moment. We've no visibility on, no more than we know it's virtual reality, it's headsets, but we've no, there's nothing commercial available currently. So I suppose my role advising travel marketeers in terms of strategy is to be identifying the trends, what's happening in the world, showing them how consumers are moving. So we started a few years ago, it was text-based communication. People wrote long posts on Facebook, in terms of, you talk about content and bloggers. It was very much posts and information. Then it was images. Then we moved to GIFs, moving images to video. And now it's quite quickly becoming 360 and immersive video is what people are looking for. So the reason for this is, I suppose, the move to mobile. So mobile has created, people check their phones up to 100 plus times a day. So this has created a pace of how we consume, and I'm doing this because it's feed-based consumption. So and it's bite-sized. We just need, and visual communication and immersive visual communication is a really quick way of getting that message across. So I suppose, the more we consume, the more the pace picks up, and the more bite-sized the communication is becoming. So yes, virtual and immersive reality, I suppose, is the next frontier. I can see plenty of scope in terms of, especially for the travel industry being such a visual industry, in terms of amazing locations, amazing hotels, amazing experiences, that could translate really, really well into an Oculus or an immersive experience. But I've nothing to advise in terms of product. I've nothing to advise clients about. I can just advise them in terms of to spot the trends and keep an eye on trends. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to invite you all to send in your questions, by the way. If you haven't got the WTM app yet, you should download it now. That will enable you to send questions to us using something called Slido. If you just click on this Facebook session, you can type in your questions and you can put your name to it or do it anonymously, and you can even vote on other people's questions. And so we'll turn to those in a few minutes. So if you want to do that, that would be great. You mentioned content there. There's some dreadful content. I mean, there are 1.7 billion content creators out there, and some of it's atrocious. But I mean, there are some brands who are doing it really, really well. So what are they doing, and who are they?
I think a common issue with the travel industry, and I suppose I don't want to, be negative in any way, but the thing is that travel is very, in terms of headspace, it's a very positive headspace for the end user. They like to travel, they like to learn about destinations. So travel marketeers don't have to try very hard in terms of content. They can put up, as I say, a beautiful beach, a beautiful hotel room, an amazing experience, and it will probably do the job for you. However, I suppose the issue that we're seeing across the travel industry is that if you took away the logos, or who wrote the post, you wouldn't be able to distinguish one brand from another. So this is an area that we're working. We have an internal team within Facebook called Creative Shop, and we're actively trying to work with as many travel advertisers to change that, because we know time and time to 101 marketing. What makes a good brand is being very distinctive and having emotional resonance. Then when we look at the insights across Facebook in terms of how people talk about holidays and travel, there was over 63 million hashtags about holidays in the UK market just this year up until June. Our June, July, we did a piece of research and there was 63, and a lot of the kind of hashtags were throwback or countdown, really excitement, high emotions around their travel, or they think about it in a very, very positive light. Yet a lot of travel marketers, especially in the digital space, think it's just very much book now. It's very transactional. There's no emotional, where they're not trying to be distinctive and they're not trying to be emotional. They're just very transactional in their approach. And I suppose that's something that we'd love to see, because we step out into the floor here today and you can see that travel brands are investing massively in brands. Like the stands, some of the stands out there today are absolutely stunning, yet translated into the digital space, there is zero investment put into the image and how they present themselves. It's very much a photograph with a book now, and are just very transactional content. So
can I put you on the spot then? Who is doing it well?
So a good example, I suppose, again going back to the two things I said earlier, being distinctive and creating emotion, would be Airbnb. I think the recent campaign that they've done is very much the Live There campaign is very good. I suppose they had to come at it from a different angle. They couldn't be transactional up front, because they had to they were creating a shift in consumer behavior in terms of, they were disruptors in the accommodation space. So they had to build a brand awareness about what they were doing, and also to kind of change consumer behavior. So that was one thing. So they invested in brand first, and they put a lot of, I suppose, time and consideration into how that brand was put out there before they followed with the book now. And then they were emotive in terms of, it was like Live There. So they created loads of these scenarios about why you would go and live like a local in these amazing cities around the world. So I think if you think about those two principles, marketing, they do that really, really well. So that's one example.
What about other sectors? I mean, the car sector, that seems to be automotive.
Yeah.
They seem to be doing quite well with Facebook.
Yeah, so I suppose that, I see amazing content from autos, entertainment, there's a lot of FMCG, some beautiful content on Facebook that's, high, there's high production value. There's a lot of time and effort being put into the content. And I think that's because, again, moving away from the They're usually, I suppose, global brands. So if you think about FMCG and autos, there's a few brands globally. Within travel, it's a lot more segmented. Every country has its own airline. Every country has its own tourist board. There's a few OTAs, you know, the Pricelines and the Expedias. There's those few global players, but it's a lot more fragmented than, say, maybe other industries. And the other thing is that 9 times out of 10, you're not selling a car on Facebook. You know, you're set your brand awareness so that you'll go into a dealership and start talking about buying that car. But on Facebook, with travel, you have the ability to sell the holiday. So I think that's where it's different. I would probably compare travel more to the e-commerce vertical. Except for it's got a longer path to purchase, which is harder to prove. But that's it's more aligned with probably e-commerce. Okay.
Can we just take a few questions from the audience now? If the Slido guys, if they're in the room, if they can perhaps put it up on the screen. If anybody's asked a question yet, maybe not. We'll see some, so please do submit some questions. I was just going to ask you about, being creative is very easy when you're doing, say, a 30-second television advert, that goes off in the middle of Coronation Street or something like that. That's much more difficult to do in the mobile world, where you, as you say, you're just like flicking past it quickly. How does a travel company actually build a brand, from scratch like that?
It's an ongoing learning. Look, TV advertising has been around for the last, 80 years. It's quite established. We know how to build a TV ad. Facebook, I suppose, video on Facebook's only been around 2 years, literally 2 years. So initially, what we had was a lot of advertisers just throwing their TV ad up on Facebook. Quickly, we got learnings that nobody's going to sit through full 30 seconds on, in their mobile feed. It's very much a very personalised space. It's bite-sized what they need. We've a few key learnings. Again, our creative shop team internally work with a lot of advertisers to do to tweak their TV messaging and just move the logo kind of up front to build for sound off. So if it's subtitles and then to zoom in to kind of key highlights or products that maybe, big wide panoramic shots, it might need to be more close cut images. But those few tweaks can be done to a TV edit or, it's just a case of changing the ad copy to the environment it's in. Yeah. But it very much, loads of industries are building brands very successfully on Facebook.
So we had a question from Malvika. I'll read it out so you don't have to. Are you going to get into travel yourself? I mean, it seems like you're making good revenues from the travel industry from the ad perspective, but would you get into it yourself in any way? Like Google?
That's not on the roadmap as far as I'm aware and concerned at the moment. It's not on the roadmap. I suppose we have the opportunity for travel clients and working with Facebook it's direct distribution. We've people-based marketing, so it's very much we have people and identity. Because of that, we don't want to ever jeopardize user trust. So there will never be. I don't think we're in a situation where we want to be building products to compete against. To use that data then and to use that data from the travel advertisers and our personal data to create a platform. It's very much that what travel marketers should be looking at it as an opportunity in terms of direct distribution. We have the people, you have the product, and to try and create that connection across Facebook.
Can you talk about instant articles at all? Patrick has asked about those. So for people who don't know, it's basically, often you'll see links to news websites or something like that that will take you off to that publication's website, but an instant article is actually within Facebook itself. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that, or is that outside your area?
Sorry, yeah, oh God. It's not. It's something. Again, I think it's available for published. Oh God, again, it's not something travel advertisers work a lot with us on. Entertainment and publishers would work a lot more in terms of trying to get that distribution of content. So, The Guardian, Economist, those kind of guys. Travel marketers, I know there's a lot of blogging, but again, travel marketers seem to work very much in that transactional book now space. So, so it's not it's not an area.
I guess the question is coming from the perspective of, we were talking about working within Facebook Messenger, for example. It sort of seems like Facebook wants to keep everything, within its arms there rather than...
But it's not that Facebook, again, Facebook, it's not that Facebook wants to. I think it's very much that Facebook studies how people use the interface. So if people if we found there was probably... What probably created this was that people found going off to a third-party site, if their site wasn't as mobile, reactive, and as quick to respond, that there was a lag, and then it was hard to get back in, so they probably dropped out. So there was probably, from analysing the user experience, they were probably able to go, well, look, it looks like people want to still consume the content, they just want to do it in a faster, more convenient way. So how do we create that for them? So that's probably generally how product is evolved in Facebook.
And a happy byproduct for you is that they all stay within Facebook at that point. Anyway, so what would you suggest? This is a question from Konstantin. What would you suggest for a small tour operator with a niche product? So he has suggested yacht cruises in Croatia. A bit of an advert for you there, Konstantin. But how do you find new clients for something like that on Facebook?
The great thing about Facebook, I suppose, is the pinpoint accuracy in terms of targeting that we can do, because we're a people-based platform as opposed to cookies. So generally what we would advise, say, a company as such, is to start with your CRM, your audience, or the customers, your previous customers, to upload those to Facebook, and then you can build a lookalike audience off those. So if they've been people who've, you can segment your CRM in many different ways, such as loyal customers, people who come back year on year, you want to find more of those type of people, or people who have have lapsed customers and you want to get them back in to maybe book another holiday, or you can segment your audience any which way. And then a lookalike audience, which is, it finds people on Facebook similar to the people within your CRM, is probably a really good acquisition strategy in terms of getting that awareness of your product to a new audience that aren't currently on your CRM. Or you can go, if you know exactly who the kind of audience is that you're trying to target, you can upload your CRM, exclude those, and target people, so say if it's the UK market, if it's 45-year-old plus males are predominantly the target demographic from certain parts of the UK, you could target those on Facebook but exclude your current CRM, so there's no wastage. So there's loads of different options available, but using your CRM or a strong seed audience of your current customers is a really good place to start.
Right, we've only got time for a couple more questions here. They're going to combine two of them. Fake likes, people buying those. I mean, how do you combat that?
I would be anyone who's, if any travel marketers come to me asking to buy likes, I'd just be like, don't, because it's not achieving anything from a business perspective. I would go back to what is it you're trying to achieve from a business perspective, and we could build out a campaign or a strategy based off that. And what will happen, as I mentioned, the halo effect is you will probably get natural likes from that, because more people will see it and they'll take the action that you want them to do, which is maybe view a video, click on the website, but they might also then discover your brand and like your page anyway. So I wouldn't encourage any travel marketers to be buying likes at this stage.
And then really the last thing, unfortunately we've not got much time, but Instagram, I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that. That's one of your highest profile acquisitions. I see one of the questions on there is about Instagram as well, about the difference between Instagram and Facebook in terms of storytelling, but also from an advertiser's perspective. Are they different at all, and how can they make use of them best?
Instagram is a phenomenal platform. It really is. It's a beautiful user experience. I love using Instagram in terms of just it's a visual only platform, so it's just beautiful photographs, and generally people only, they might upload a whole album of photos onto Facebook, but they will take that one perfect shot and post it to Instagram. So from very similar to Facebook in terms of the content. On Facebook, travel is one of the top categories in terms of, it's the number one category in terms of what people talk about. So above food, families, weddings, travel is what people talk about. Similarly, it's very similar on Facebook or on Instagram. They also follow food, travel, and fashion are the three kind of top categories in terms of what people follow on Instagram. But from an advertising point of view, so it's an amazing platform for you. Again, travel being such a visual product, it's an amazing platform to showcase what you have available. But from an advertising point of view, it's essentially two front ends. We've merged the kind of back ends in terms of advertising. So you can now run an advertising campaign, set it up for Facebook, and just tick a box, and it can go on Facebook and Instagram only. So same targeting, same capabilities in terms of advertising. So that cruise company earlier, you could target people, upload your CRM, and target it both on Facebook and Instagram. And if people are more likely to use Instagram, they will see the ad on Instagram. If they're more likely to see or use Facebook, they'll see it on Facebook. And because, again, we're people-based, you won't get duplication. So it's a very efficient way of running a campaign both on Facebook and Instagram.
Now, I'm really sorry that's going to be all the time that we have for this. I'm sure that Nessa will stick around for a couple of minutes to answer any pressing questions that you might have, but we'll have to ask you to do that outside, because there are some more sessions coming up after this one. The one after this is about content in crisis and whether bloggers need to tell people that they're getting paid for what they're promoting on the likes of Facebook. So I just want to ask everybody to put their hands together for Nessa Costin for sharing her time with us.
Thank you.